Today we're talking about a girl who worked on a psych ward that got fired for taking 15 minutes break.
The head of the geriatric department said she reviewed the footage. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to get fired. But why don't you take 15 just to get yourself together? Because I was very much crying. Then the boss comes in, tells me to go upstairs with the other boss. They fire me. And the reason for it wasn't because of the fall. The reason they were firing me was because I took a 15-minute break.
Is she lying? Is she telling the truth? We're going to talk about the story. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. Dance party here. We are healthcare providers, healthcare professionals.
Not providers. We're not providers.
We're not providers. But we are professionals having unfiltered conversations on God, wellness, and purpose. Our goal is to have a refreshing approach on all the important issues that affect all the healthcare workers in America. Thank you, Lexa, for joining.
Hello.
Once again, we're covering a story that has to do with psych nursing. And before we get into the story, I want to talk about all of our loved ones in psych nursing.
Oh,
Psych nursing is it's a tough field.
yeah. Oh, fellow brothers and sisters.
Do you remember when you did your first rotation, like a clinical rotation in psych?
Oh, yeah. We had several. I can't remember how many weeks we spent. I think it was probably a whole semester, right? Because psych nursing is its own semester, its own class.
Yeah.
So we had a whole semester where we did clinicals on a behavioral health unit. And man,
Some tough stuff, man.
Immediately I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah,
absolutely not. Not going to go to psychiatric
People say
nursing.
the money is there, though. People say...
I don't care.
No?
Have your first taste of psych nursing is the Muffin Man?
I don't know. So, what?
Have you seen that clip on YouTube where it's like,
Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
That's where this comes from when I say, Lord bless the people who chose to go that route,
Yeah.
because we need people in those areas.
yeah, we need good people in those areas.
We need good people
Caring
in those
people.
areas. Yes, yes. Before we go any further, I want to share that we have these little beanies for sale on our website. Go to niceveinsbro.com, click on shop, and you will find these beanies. These look really, really cool.
And it's
If you're-
getting cooler outside.
Yeah, we're approaching Christmas, and this is a good Christmas gift. So cop it now, okay? Because you don't want to do some last-minute Christmas shopping. So if you have any nurses in your life, or there's other ones on there on the website that are not specific to nursing, I just thought these were really cool, so I pulled them out to show them. But and these are very high quality. Feel that?
Yeah.
Feel
it's
it.
Thick-a-ca.
It's thick, caca.
It's plush-a-sha.
So you have like a 3D puff embroidery here at the front.
Yeah, it's not printed to where it'll rub off after a few washes.
This staying here
This is
forever.
it's stitched.
Yep.
Thick.
So some problems often seen in psych nursing. What do you think are some problems in psych nursing or in psychiatric, not just nursing, but if you're a professional working in psych?
It's difficult because you get faced sometimes with people who are in a very strong hallucination state, or they're absolutely sure that something that is false is the truth. So to them, they will not believe what you're telling them. You have also some people who are aggressive, who are violent. They will threaten violence, and sometimes you do get physical. You have a physical encounter with a patient because sometimes you'll get really aggressive. They're unpredictable, and then they get angry, and you have to act quickly and get out of the way. I have been part of situations where patients have done things who were in a very unhealthy mental state, did some stuff that was very aggressive, very scary, and if I did not have a good team around me, I don't know how I would have escaped that situation without injury, without some serious psychological toll, and just with my life. Because there are some patients, unfortunately, that will get very violent.
There was one patient that punched one of the care aides whenever I was there. One of the aides was taking care of somebody, and straight up, she was just walking down the hall with, one of the patients, and out of nowhere, she's talking to someone else. One of the patients went straight up to her, this man, and planted a huge, like a punch right on
In her face?
Yeah, on her face.
You were right in front of her?
I was in front of her, yes.
Dude, that's so scary.
I was in front of her. I was
As
like,
a not-
oh my, and then
As a
all
student,
the guys.
you're like freaking out.
Yeah, and all the guys, all the male nurses started, running toward him and grabbed him and everything. But she had to go down to the ER. I mean, she got up. She was a
gosh.
trooper. She got up. She was
Yeah.
shaken up for sure.
Not okay. Like that's really scary. Like I've had patients kick me and try to punch me, bite me, and taking swings at my head. And thankfully, I'm fast and small.
Yeah,
and I had a team of other nurses around me that were holding the patient away from me.
Yeah.
But when I think about it, when I stop to think about my experiences in a non-exclusively psychiatric unit, I've seen some crazy stuff. Like
some of the
I've been
the
in dangerous
patients-
situations.
Yeah, some of the patients really need to be in psych ward.
Yeah.
And they don't make it there. Or if they have a medical issue, they'll be on a regular floor.
Yeah.
That's something that
for us in ICU, we
that's
deal
a whole
with
other
that.
topic. But sometimes you'll see psych patients
Mm-hmm.
on the regular floor because they have a
medically unstable.
I mean, they're both medically I guess
Like medically
not
unstable
mentally.
as in yes.
Right. They have some kind of like heart condition or some kind of
Yes.
other thing going on in their body, so they have to be shipped over to another unit.
Yeah, but my point is that just seeing stuff like a lot of psychiatric issues from a non-psych unit, I can't imagine for the people who are constantly in
constantly there. They're dealing with aggressive, unpredictable behavior, and verbal abuse is like a constant thing.
Oh, yeah. That's a for sure thing.
We see that everywhere in healthcare, but specifically there, you see it all the time. You see threats. You see not just physical violence from them, but also another thing that is kind of traumatic is oftentimes they will inflict self-harm, which, they may not give,
Oh my goodness.
they won't like cause harm to somebody else, but they are trying to either attempt self-harm.
Like that's always the fear on my mind whenever I have one of those patients or I am helping and switching out with a tech that is one-to-one, just giving them a break. That's the fear is who knows if they're going to hurt me and themselves. So I think that's part of the fear and the difficulty of the job is that fear of the unknown. And you're always having to be on your toes. Like you're always in high alert because that's your job. That's difficult.
Yeah.
We're not, I don't think we're made to be in a high alert state 24/7.
You found a video. Tell us about that video.
So there is a lady that used to work on a psych unit or a psych ward, she says. She has several YouTube shorts on YouTube talking about how her experience traumatized her, how difficult it was. And we're going to go play the video so we can hear her audio and see what exactly she went through.
I worked at a psych ward for 6 months and it traumatized me for life, part 3. So I had emailed the higher ups saying that I didn't think I had enough training to do one-to-ones. I had a meeting with my boss and she essentially told me that I needed to like go on modules or whatever and learn more. And instead of taking me out of that situation and having me learn and then putting me in when I was ready, they just kept putting me to one-to-ones. Keep in mind, nobody wants to do one-to-ones. It's extremely awful. On the best possible day, it would be you sitting with no phone or anything while your patient sleeps for 12 hours of your shift. On the worst day, it's your patient clawing at you, spitting on you, cursing you out, doing whatever, hurting you. It's not their fault at all. They're not in the mindset, but someone shouldn't have to experience that every single day for months and months.
In the first 2 videos or the first 2 parts of her story, she talks about how it was always her dream to go and become a psychologist or psychiatrist or something. She majored in psychology, got her degree. Shortly after graduating, she starts at a psychiatric ward. She is under the impression, based on her interview and her conversations with the unit manager, that she's going to deal with adolescents and participate in group therapy. She will be helping them with day-to-day activities. And so she's super excited. So she starts this job. For the first 2-3 days, she gets to work with adolescents and she's very happy about it. Very quickly, she realizes that she is not going to be working in the situation she was told she would be working in.
How often does that happen? That happens quite a bit.
Oh, tons. Especially in short-staffed facilities where they don't have enough people. They're just going to put you wherever they need you. And for her, in her case, I think that's probably what happened. She doesn't say it's because of short staffing. However, she is stuck in the geriatric ward on the 3rd or 4th day of her work at this facility. And she is assigned one-to-one with a patient who has a history of SA, which is, I don't know if we can include it in the video, probably we'll take it out or bleep it. A male patient with a history. She's very uncomfortable. She doesn't have any training. And so she tells her boss or the supervisor, or someone she calls the higher ups, that she's uncomfortable with this and she feels undertrained because she had zero orientation to that type of patient and she doesn't have any experience. So they tell her, oh, for sure, we're not going to do that. And she goes back and she continues.
Yeah, not to mention that the rest of my time there, I never didn't work a one-to-one again for 6 months. Every single person who I talked to would be extremely concerned about me. I would come home crying. I witnessed some really messed up stuff I'm not even gonna say in this video. Every day I would cry. I'd be so emotionally exhausted. I had gained so much weight because I was completely turning to food as the only thing. It was miserable. It was absolutely miserable and no one wanted to help me. Every single coworker who was in my same position said that I should complain about it, that they're shocked that they would do this to somebody over and over again. And looking back, I really think it's because I complained on the higher ups, because my boss said, don't talk to the higher ups again, because it made her look bad. On top of that, one thing my boss said was the only way to make through the one-to-ones for the 12 hours is every 3 hours to take a 15-minute break. Keep that in mind. That's going to be important for later. Little did I know that they were eventually going to put me with a patient that, I'm still very traumatized, for part 5. Part 5 of working at a psych ward for 6 months and it traumatizing me for months. The one day I work with this patient on a one-to-one, so I have to be within 6 feet of this man at all times. He cussed, he punched, he clawed, he did every possible thing. And again, it's not his fault, he was mentally ill, but I started to get real uncomfortable when I found out that this man had a history of SAing women. I also found out from other people that if a man had a history of SA, he shouldn't be put on a one-to-one with a woman. That was not a thing they were supposed to do, but I got more and more uncomfortable as the day went on, and I told the higher ups, and they were like, oh my god, you're so right, we will not put you there tomorrow. And I, for the first time, felt like I was being heard, someone actually cared. But then the next day I come in, and I'm put with him again. At some point in the middle of the day, one of my coworkers sees how uncomfortable and scared I am, and he's like, I'm gonna go to the boss, and I'm gonna tell them I'm switching with you because this isn't fair to you, this is scary, this is not. And he comes back and tells me that the boss essentially said, well, she needs to learn to do her job. No, you can't switch with her. So all of that sympathy that they gave me the following day, and you're so right, we're not going to put you, that was all just nothing. So I have to stay with this man. Essentially, at some point, he gets up really fast and falls, and he's in the geriatric department, so that's very bad. From my minimal training of what to do, I did exactly what I could, and he fell anyway. I had obviously a tremendous amount of guilt. I was crying, and the head of the geriatric department said she reviewed the footage. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to get fired, but why don't you take 15 just to get yourself together, because I was very much crying. Then the boss comes in, tells me to go upstairs with the other boss. They fire me, and the reason for it wasn't because of the fall. The reason they were firing me was because I took a 15-minute break. Keep in mind, all those months ago, they told me every few hours you need to take a 15-minute break. I knew that was a cop-out. They just didn't want me working there anymore because I was complaining. I don't even know, I was told that I was supposed to be working with the adolescents on the adolescent wing. I had only worked there the first 3 days that I had worked there for 6 months. Every other, they lied to me about what I was going to be doing. And they put me in actual danger with a man who SA'd women over and over again. And they knew I didn't know what I was doing with the one-to-ones. They could have put their patients in danger by putting me there. I don't know. I literally still, to this day, anytime I drive by this place, I have shivers. I'm scared. I have nightmares about this place because I was just treated so poorly. And I was the only one, too. Everyone else had their normal jobs, and everyone else was so concerned for me because they saw how not normal it was. And there's no justice in this situation because I just left and I have not looked back. I don't even like thinking about the fact that people are probably there and enjoying their job in the adolescent unit, which is the job I was supposed to have. I have a lot more stories about that place that I could tell. Let me know in the comments if that's something you guys want to hear, but yeah.
The first thing I want to say is that there is compassion. At least that's my reaction. The first is compassion for the situation that this young lady is in. Because if what she's saying is true, that is very sad that she was forced to be in a one-to-one with a patient who had a history of assaulting women. And that's not the policy, and they're still doing it, and they're not keeping their word, especially if a coworker goes up and says, hey, I'm willing to switch, and the boss says, no, we're still going to keep her there. That's just downright wrong.
I feel like that's bullying.
That's bullying. It's downright wrong. That's the first initial reaction. The second reaction, actually, before I move on to the second thing, another thing that I look up to for this girl and I respect is the fact that she doesn't blame the patients. I've seen where people will blame, violence and all this stuff on patients that legitimately have mental issues. Like, you cannot blame, patients who have a mental disease and just say, well, they did it on purpose or something, and they're clinically unable to make those, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, somebody's actually ill in these cases. And I feel for her, and I can tell that she is traumatized. I mean, obviously she has some kind of like PTSD. If she was to just drive past the location and start shaking and crying, that's not normal. And that's very sad that was the effect on her life and on her mindset towards like psychiatric units, because she talks about how her dream was always to work with adolescents, and she almost doesn't want to be in a psychiatric ward ever because her experience was so poor. I feel compassion towards her. I feel sadness that she not only did not get to do what she set out to do, like the whole bait and switch that we were talking about. It makes me sad that she didn't get to work where she wanted to work and where she understood she was going to work, where she was told she was going to work. That's frustrating in and of itself.
According to her story.
Right. Sure. That's the only report we have of this entire thing is what her perspective was. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I don't want to be like rude.
Be rude. That's what we're here for. Unfiltered conversations.
Because I can see where she's coming from and probably how I would react in the same situation where I'm brand new. I don't know what to expect. I am scared because my circumstances, like the type of patient population I work with, is very scary. But I don't know enough to say, this is wrong and you're doing the wrong thing, my boss, like to stand up and say that. If you're somebody who has just graduated college and you're used to always doing what you're told, that's a difficult move from your young person thinking to an adult mature thinking that I can stand up for myself. I don't have to tolerate being mistreated and I can leave.
And again, this is me making a judgment. So I want to preface what I'm about to say because I am judging the person based on the tiny clip that she has on social media. Okay. But the first thing is she chooses to put her whole story on social media based on the first gut reaction that I see her. She looks like someone who has like baseline anxiety. I don't know if it's as a result of her experience, but she looks like someone who has like baseline anxiety. I don't know. There are people in this world also who will be quiet in the moment and then complain so much afterward about the situation. And I'm not saying she is this person. It sounds like I am, but I'm saying this is the other side of the coin. So I started with my compassion, okay? And that was a gut reaction, and I feel sorry for her. But at the same time, on the flip side is we never know. There are many people that I've worked with who will not stand up for themselves in the moment.
I have been that person.
Yeah, and this is an encouragement more than an indictment. It's an encouragement for people to say, for me to encourage you to say, stand up for yourself in those moments, because that's where you take personal responsibility for your situation. We so often, after an experience, let's say her experience here, right? So often after, she's creating a video about what they did wrong, and they may have done many things wrong, and I'm not trying to victim blame, but an opportunity here is to say, you know what did I learn from the situation? Okay, at my next job, if this is happening, you know what I can do? Because the poor girl looks like she's young and she just graduated college and she's a mess. She's a wreck, And so I think that it's a good learning opportunity for her to say, in my next job, if I'm in the same circumstance, I will stand up for myself and I will not accept the assignment. You know, so that's an encouragement to the people who are listening, encouragement to the young lady. You know, I'm not trying to be rude, but in the future, the people who are able to rise above their circumstances, the people that say, you're my boss and all these things, but I will not accept this treatment. And you do it respectfully, right? But I will not accept this treatment. I do not know how to take care of this patient. It's for the safety of the patient. I'm not trying to be difficult.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it is true. Sometimes jobs try to find stupid reasons to fire you. I mean, she
think
said
that's
that the
an
job,
absolute baloney reason to fire someone.
Yeah, they fired her for taking 15 minutes. I don't believe that. I mean, it would, I don't know.
I don't believe
I'm the bully if I don't believe her, but I just don't believe
you
a
don't
job
believe.
would,
Wait. You don't believe her? What she's saying is true?
I don't believe a job would fire you for taking a 15-minute break. But maybe.
But if they did,
they are in the wrong.
Yeah.
They are in the wrong, and you can actually sue a job, right, for
unfair termination.
Yeah, for unfair
termination.
termination. You can,
because that's kind of a terrible. That's not a good excuse or not a good reason to fire somebody, especially given like she said, like the advice she was given at the beginning of her job that the only way you're going to make it through a 1-to-1 12-hour shift is to take breaks every 3 hours.
Well, and every job has a certain parameter of how many breaks you can take. You know,
sure.
Nursing jobs, you know, our contracts and stuff detail that. And
I would say that every 3 hours is pretty fair. Like, can you imagine sitting in a chair just looking at somebody for 3 hours and not being able to use a restroom?
Oh yeah.
You know, like, at least in my experience, I feel like that's the minimum that we should be offering our techs breaks, because as a nurse, you know, I have this patient, but my tech is sitting in the room the whole day. So I will offer, you want to switch out and use the bathroom or go get a drink or snack or whatever, just 15 minutes. And then they get a lunch break, a full 30 minutes. And then later on, they get another 15-minute break. I feel like that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately, the overarching thing that I see based on my limited experience at work and working with different people and seeing her story, my gut reaction is, you know what happened here? The environment she was working at looked at her and said, oh man, she does not have what it takes to work here.
And then they decided to try and mold her into being someone that fit.
No, I don't know what happened.
She needs to learn how to do her job.
I don't know,
what do you mean about that?
Well, what I'm saying, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is the fact of the matter is, it looks to me like the bosses were not empathetic enough to this young girl, and they threw her in a bad situation, and they were expecting her to toughen up and grow thick skin and just deal with it. And unfortunately, that's the healthcare world that we live in. Too many people are thrown into the sea, and it's kind of like nurses eat their young, sink or swim kind of deal. And that's a lot of people don't learn that way. Some people feel like they learned that way and they became a stronger person for it, but a lot of people don't learn that way. And I think we need to be more empathetic to this young lady who desires to be in this field. Quick recap on dealing with toxic environments like this. I would say one of the first things that you start to see if it's toxic is realize that you are responsible for setting up your boundaries.
Yeah.
No one is going to set up boundaries for you. And in fact, if you don't set up your own boundaries, other people are going to push you until they feel whatever boundaries it is that is appropriate for you. And if other people are the ones, dictating what is okay or not okay for you, that's not okay, because they'll push you off the edge. You have to be the one to dictate your boundaries. You have to be the one to say, this is too far. So establish those boundaries and advocate for yourself. Just a reminder, we say that often on this podcast and in nursing, the culture, advocate for yourself. But really, really do that. Yeah. Seek professional support. If your direct supervisor is not showing you support, go up the chain of the command, and if you feel like nobody's supporting you, leave. There are moments where you have to cut ties with a relationship that will ultimately destroy you. That is going to be worse than jumping from one job to another and trying to start again and having a little bit of a financial.
It's going to be worse than starting. Ultimately,
just staying in a toxic environment that will destroy you. That'll be worse ultimately than if you have a financial blip and you say, hey, I can't, may not be able to pay for rent. Let me find someone. I know it's very tough. It's easy to say, tough to do. I get that. If she was watching this and I had an opportunity to tell her something, I would say, look, thank you for your heart, for being willing to work in such a very difficult environment. Thank you for trying and saying, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can I learn in a different way? Thank you for enduring all of that. There are areas for you to grow. And I would encourage you to take this terrible opportunity where you were, I would say the victim of being unfairly fired and learn from it rather than being bitter forever about what happened to you. Look inwardly and say, what can I do in this next season or as I move forward? Because things are going to happen. Life is unfair and you're going to be treated this way by some other idiot in the future. And what I want for you is for you to rise above that situation, that circumstance, and learn from the lessons, that you were hurt from in the past, and learn from that so that you can be able to fly above the terrible circumstances that this world gives you. So that's what I would say. I hope that through this little story and, some of the, again, I just want to appreciate all the people in psych right now. If you're in psych, comment below.
You warriors, you.
I know. Subscribe, like, and comment. Let us know an experience that you had in psych or maybe a friend of yours had in psych. We want to hear about it. Again, I encourage you guys to go to the website and purchase or grab this beanie. We have 3 different colors, black on black, which I don't have here with me, but we do have a white, pink and white. We have the gray one with white letters as well. They all look really great. So grab it for a Christmas gift as we approach the holidays. Also, if you're listening on a podcast platform, please leave a 5-star review. And remember, as always, to be a positive force and influence in healthcare and society. Que Dios me lo bendiga. When I would listen to podcasts before I became a podcaster myself, I didn't realize how much leaving a 5-star review helped. And so now on this side, I just want you to know that it really does mean a whole lot when people review and share the content. So if you enjoyed it, please share it with somebody and leave a 5-star review on whichever platform you use, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And if you're interested, you can also find us on social media at Nice Veins Bro or shop online at niceveinsbro.com. My personal stuff you can find under Nene Pablo, which is spelled NENEPABLO. I spend most of my time on YouTube making vlogs and videos and on Instagram. So I would love to connect with you. And remember, be a positive force and influence within healthcare and society. It's all about God, wellness, and purpose here. Thank you for listening.